No luck.
Yeah, I don't think she's here.
June's voice was faint, and she placed her hands over her mouth. Her face looked a little
The
green.
smell is horrible.
The stench in the room was almost unbearable. Can't imagine it's gotten any better. It had gone far more unpleasant since their last visit. If Junpei had eaten a lunch, he would have had difficulty retaining it. He wanted to leave the room as soon as possible, but he had to be sure. And the only way to be sure was to check the other side of the divider.
Check the back, just to be sure.
June offered no resistance and nodded weakly to Junpei as he headed back around the divider. He stopped at the corner and turned his head.
She's not here.
As he expected, Clover was nowhere to be seen. The only thing on the other side of the divider was a dead body lying in a reddish-brown puddle of dry and drying blood. Yes.
Snake.
Okay, we didn't notice before, but are we going to notice now?
Where did your sister go?
Junpei whispered to what was once Snake. He'd asked rhetorically, of course, as there was no way he'd get an answer. He gave a deep sigh.
Such a horrible way to go. The skull shattered, the left arm's hideously twisted.
Come on! Connect the dots!
Wait.
He's connecting the dots, people! The flashes are going off in his brain! The bright white of the Unla was clearly visible through the remains of skin and muscle. Bright white. Ulna. Bones! The pieces fell into place. Junpei remembered something Clover had told him in the laboratory.
My brother's left arm is, it's not like a normal person's arm. The accident hurt him really bad.
Of course. Of course. Why didn't I realize it earlier?
Clover had told Junpei that Snake's left arm was prosthetic, but the left arm of the corpse behind the divider was clearly a real human arm. Or at least it had been once. That meant the corpse...
Jumpy?
June's unsure voice at Junpei's suddenly strange behavior drew his attention back to her.
Sorry for making you wait. Let's go.
He has decided to not say anything about it yet, I guess. Junpei and June headed back toward the large hospital room. They stepped through the door and out of the shower room. Down the hallway they went, searching for Clover in every corner. Not going down the elevator. That's pretty, by ourselves. That's a nice change. They had reached the stairs when Seven appeared, breathless and yelling.
Junpei! June! Where were you guys?
Shower room, what up? He looked pale and his face was drawn. I mean, of course it was drawn. Something terrible had happened. Junpei's breath caught in his throat.
Did something happen?
Seven drew a shaking hand across his face and gulped down a breath of air.
Clover is dead.
Excuse me?
I found her in the first-class bathroom.
Then that would mean... All sound ceased for Junpei. Just very quickly, that would mean... I imagine this would be the exact same no matter what, so that means Clover died in this path too, which means she is definitively not the person with the knife in that ending. I feel like I could have ascertained that, but it's nice to get full confirmation. Then he began to hear his own breathing. Aww. Man, we just found out that your brother ain't dead. Very likely, anyway. That sucks so much. June's mouth moved, but he heard nothing. She tried once more, and then her energy was gone, and she collapsed against the wall. He could have helped her, but he hadn't, and now she was dead. So he stood there, frozen in place.
Clover. Clover.
God damn it!
Why did this happen?
He forced his body to move. Each step felt like another nail pounded into his heart. Finally, he was in front of her. He knelt and placed 3 fingers against Clover's neck. No pulse, no breath. But she was still warm and her eyes were closed peacefully. It would have been easy to think she was asleep. Easy, that is, were it not for the slowly expanding puddle of blood beneath her. He traced its source to her back. A gash just beneath her shoulder blade. Was the weapon a knife, perhaps? If it was a knife, the killer had taken it when they left. When he closed his eyes, he saw Clover's smile.
Clover.
Her innocent smile. Her energy. He would never see her smile again.
No way.
He could have done something. He could have helped her. We don't know if that's true, though. His stomach twisted itself into a sickening knot.
Let's get out of here, June.
Junpei lifted a limp June from the floor and carried her from the bathroom.
Are you alright?
It was a foolish question, and he knew it.
Yes. I think so.
Her voice was weak. The fever had gone down, but the emotional scars she'd received were not likely to recede as quickly. If that's all still this, then what is all this? Junpei laid his hand on her shoulder, and they walked back to the bedroom.
You should get some rest. Here, the bed. Can you sit?
Yes.
She nodded once and stared at the floor. There were 4 others in the room. Ace, Lotus, Santa, and Seven. They all stared at nothing, their faces drawn and tired. After a while, they drifted into the bathroom to see Clover's corpse to themselves. Once everyone was back in the bedroom, Junpei walked slowly to the center of it and looked around as the slumped figures gathered there.
Who was the first to find the body?
Me.
Seven spoke from behind Junpei. He turned around. Seven's hand was up.
Why did you come to this room?
To look for Clover. Why else? I found her body in the bathroom. As soon as I did, I ran outside. I got to the top of the stairs by the casino and yelled as loud as I could. Hey, guys! I found her, but it's bad. She's in the bathroom in the first-class cabin. Come quick! Or something like that. Then I went back to the bathroom. Ace, Santa, and Lotus showed up real soon after that. But I guess you two hadn't heard me or something because you didn't show. So I took off down the stairs to look for you. After that, I mean, you know the rest, right?
Right. Junpei nodded and closed his eyes. There was one more thing he needed to ask.
Seven, there's one more thing I'm worried about.
What?
You stuck one of those plates in between the door and the frame, right? Why did you do that?
Come on, didn't I already tell you that? I did it so that the door wouldn't lock. So we could come back to this room? Oh. You think I did it?
I don't want to think you did.
Well, I don't know. That kind of depends on what you say, doesn't it?
For crying out loud.
Seven sighed and shook his head.
Follow me.
There were 2 doors standing next to one another. He opened the one on the right.
A closet?
Yeah.
Seven stepped inside. He stood in front of one of the shelves that filled it and gestured toward a small box. The box was a small metal cube. He looked at Junpei.
This is the reason. This safe. We couldn't open it when we were getting through this room. I figured there might be something pretty important in it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I figured eventually we might figure out what the numbers are for the safe. And if we did, I didn't want to screw around with door 5 again.
Huh. Okay.
So I put the plate in the exit door so we could get back in that way. You get it now?
Yeah.
Junpei nodded and looked at the safe. He grabbed the handle and shook it.
Figured it wouldn't open.
It was as locked as it had been when Seven found it.
Huh?
There was one change, however.
This is
Just underneath the safe was a pile of fine reddish-brown powder?
rust.
Junpei stared at it, considering.
There's rust here. That means... Has someone opened the safe?
Junpei left the closet. Seven followed him back to the bedroom.
Huh?
It was cold and quiet. No one spoke. They sat frozen in place by shock and grief and fatigue. The room felt tiny and oppressive, and the thick metallic smell of blood filled the room. Junpei turned and headed for the living room. Anything to get out of there.
Maybe there's another clue. Anything that might lead us to discover who stabbed Clover.
As quickly as they could, they searched around and under the beds and in the corners. His eyes caught on the door. The door that led to the passageway of door number 5.
Behind this door. The 9th man's body is behind there. Maybe I should have another look at it, just in case.
Quietly, he pushed open the door.
Ugh.
Yeah, we're gonna have to constantly look at stuff like this all the damn time. Ugh, the smell hit him like a blow to the face.
Oh, the hell. This smell is...
His lungs contracted, unwilling to inhale such fetid air. Acid boiled up from the base of his stomach, churning what little food was there into a violent froth. It was too much for him, and he vomited. A thin stream of yellow water and bile splattered on the floor. Ugh. Ew, I didn't need to hear it. He wiped his mouth weakly and stared at the dead body. Chunks of torn flesh lay in an arc around the body. What remained of his intestines had slid out onto the floor. Thanks for that. The pool of blood that framed it was half dry, but so thick that it had taken on a texture not unlike that of an egg yolk prepared sunny. Why does everything got to be food related? God damn. On the floor next to the broken mass of the man's head lay his glasses, cracks spidering across the lenses. The bloodstains near them had already dried like scabs on the floor. Ew.
Wait,
And that was when he noticed.
it's gone.
Oh, the bracelet!
This bracelet. It's gone. It was right next to the glasses.
But now, it was gone. The number 9 bracelet was gone.
But why?
Had someone taken it? He was turning it over and over in his mind when he heard Seven's voice.
Huh? Where'd Junpei go?
It is I, over here. It had drifted on out to him from the living room. Junpei walked slowly out of the hallway.
Oh, there you are. Were you looking for something in the hallway?
I kind of was. Seven looked up as Junpei entered the room.
Did you find something?
He thought for a moment before he responded.
No, nothing.
Why are we keeping so much information to ourselves? Technically, it wasn't a lie. He hadn't found anything. In a way, in fact, that was the problem. Something he'd expected to find hadn't been there. The ninth man's bracelet.
Well, I wanted you to take a look at something.
What is it?
Seven had led Junpei back to the bathroom.
Clover.
I don't really want to look at that again, Seven. Why are we doing this? As Clover's corpse came into view, he felt his heart flip and then fall to the bottom of his stomach. Something between a sigh and a groan escaped his lips.
What was it you wanted to show me?
His voice was hollow and empty.
I searched Clover's body again. A real shame. She was stabbed once in the back, probably by a knife or something.
I kind of gathered as much.
And I found this.
As he spoke, he moved around Clover's head, then knelt down and flipped over her right hand.
What?
She was holding a piece of paper.
I haven't actually looked at it yet. Didn't want to disturb the crime scene, you know? Basic stuff.
That's fair.
Well, I did borrow one thing.
What?
He wasn't sure what that meant, but it likely didn't matter. I feel like it did. The paper was more
I'm
important.
opening it.
He picked it up and carefully opened it. There were 2 sentences written on it.
Truth had gone, and truth had gone. Ah, now truth is asleep in the darkness of the sinister hand.
What is this? Some kind of secret code?
Seven peered over Junpei's shoulder at the note. Junpei stepped away from Clover's body and into the living room. He began to pace, attempting to decode the note.
A code.
The first clue was likely the phrase sinister hand. Sinister hand means... Well, I know that in a lot of things, not really specifically, but I know that the right hand is considered good, and like in a lot of cultures or something or another, the left hand is considered the devil's hand. So when kids had left-handedness, they would like get hit for it and stuff, and that went on for a really long time. So I imagined the left hand.
Sinister was a term used in heraldry that meant to the left of the bearer of a coat of arms. The left hand. The left hand. What does the left hand mean?
Junpei looked at his own left arm, and at the bracelet on his wrist.
Does the darkness of the sinister hand have something to do with the bracelet?
He examined the bracelet closely.
There's 2 things sticking out on either side of the face. The left and right sides of the face. Left and right. Left and right. Right and left. Truth is gone. Truth gone.
Truth. Gone. Maybe those 2 words... Oh, God. Reading it out loud? Well, we already tried that. How about... I like that idea, because it reminds me of changing your thinking. What else could gone in truth mean? How about reading the backward? I'm going to go with switching the sentence around.
How about switching the sentence around? Gone had truth. Well, that makes even less sense.
Well, I'm trying.
Clearly, switching the words isn't going to help.
Time for a different idea. Okay, well, I tried, okay? Better not be them talking backwards. What else could gone in truth
What
mean?
else could gone and truth mean? Truth, of course, means something that is correct. Something that's fact. In other words, something that is right.
Okay,
You
okay.
could then safely assume that gone means left. After all, after someone left, they were gone. But in this case, they clearly refer to their directional homonyms. Then truth equals right, and gone equals left.
Junpei looked at the bracelet again.
The left and right of the bracelet. These two things sticking out. So if I...
Press them in the following order. Oh, dear God. Oh, no, 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 no. Let me see that thing again. No, no, no. Let me see the thing again. Okay, well, it said, truth is gone, truth is gone. So truth is right. Then wouldn't it be... Yeah, truth is gone, truth is gone, truth is gone. So this one, right? Right, left, right, left, right, left. So truth gone, truth gone, truth gone. And then... one after another, 8 numbers flashed on, then off, of the face of Junpei's bracelet.
Wait, did it just...
He checked one more time to be sure. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
Hey, what are those numbers?
I have absolutely no idea. Junpei didn't answer. He couldn't answer. He had no idea what they were either. Besides, he was sure he would forget the numbers and the order they came in if he said anything.
1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
Muttering the numbers to himself over and over, Junpei headed about toward the bedroom.
1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
Have we made any progress yet? No, we're still here.
1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
The safe?
1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
Before long, he found himself in front of the safe again. Its lock was the only device he could think of that required a sequence of numbers such as the ones he'd just discovered. Besides, someone had opened the safe at least once already. Had Clover come to the bedroom to open it? Junpei slowly dialed in the numbers of the bracelet had given him. Thank you for not making me do it.
1 to the right, 4 to the left, and... Oh,
Finished.
bingo. I knew it was for this.
A small telltale sound of a lock opening. He grabbed the handle, took a deep breath, and pulled it up.
Oh, is this some sort of note?
Inside was a piece of paper. It was roughly the same size as the one Clover had been
Let's
holding.
see.
Junpei picked it up, and this is what it said. Fact 1. The nonary game was played once before 9 years ago. Fact 2. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. Excuse me? Fact 3. It was planned by the following 4 people. Cradle Pharmaceutical CEO. Gentaro Hongo. Cradle Pharmaceutical Chief of Staff. Nagasa Nijisaki. Oh, wait, right. None of them are going to say Ace. Duh. Cradle Pharmaceutical R&D Supervisor. Taraki Kubota. I am so sorry to anybody. Okay. Majority shareholder in Cradle Pharmaceuticals. Kagechika Musashido. I must punish them. For the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls might be saved, I now state the truth. 0. Okay, so I've got some pretty important things to ask somebody. Junpei left the closet. There were 5 people waiting for him in the bedroom. Ace, Lotus, Santa, 7, and June. He looked at each of them in turn, then slowly placed his hands in the pockets of his vest.
Sorry, but do you think you could all come with me?
Come with you.
I want all of you to go to the big hospital room.
I have got so many things to talk about.
Why?
You don't even know how much I've got.
There's something I want to be sure of.
What do you want to be sure of?
A lot of things. Now let's go.
I want to know if the person I suspect is really the culprit.
Wait, then you're saying...
Yeah, I think I've got it figured out. I know who killed Snake and Clover.
But we already know that Snake... I'm not sure what Junpei is planning here. I also don't know... I mean, I think I do, but I don't know. I mean, is it... Assuming that... So, Ace, right? Like, I mean, unless that's not his name. Grief was suddenly gone, replaced by attention like a strap of leather stretched to its limit. 5 sets of eyes stared at Junpei. He pretended not to
Anyway,
notice.
if you could all please move to the big hospital room. I'll explain everything as soon as we get there.
Then, almost as if on cue, the bell began to ring. They all heard it. It was the bell from the clock on the main staircase. That's 5. The bell rang 5 times, then
5
ceased.
o'clock.
We've only got an hour
We
left.
don't have a lot of time left. Let's go.
Slowly, one by one, they followed Junpei out of the bedroom. This is intense as hell!
Actually, before we get started, I was hoping you could do something for me.
Junpei stopped in front of the 3 door and turned
Ace,
around.
7, and Lotus, could you please place your palms on the red?
Huh?
Why? If we need to get to the shower room, why don't we just...
No, we're not going inside. Once you've authenticated, step away from the door.
Why?
Please, just do it. Or perhaps you don't want to know who killed Snake and Clover.
Junpei's implication was clear, and 7 understood perfectly.
Fine.
What about you, Ace? Lotus?
Very well.
Sure.
I have no idea what his plan is, but I'm intrigued. Quickly, they pressed their palms onto the red. Once they had finished, they stepped away from the door as Junpei had instructed. 3 asterisks shone from the red's display
I
panel.
have this idea. I don't think this device responds to a hand placed on it.
Huh?
It instead reacts to a bracelet being brought close.
Well, was that not obvious?
You don't actually need a hand.
No. Junpei approached it and held his bracelet over the scanner. He made quite sure he didn't place his palm on it and instead only brought his bracelet near it. The 4th asterisk appeared. Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those magic bands at Disneyland. Did everybody think that this was some kind of palm reader?
I knew it.
Just as Junpei had expected, it was possible to authenticate without placing one's palm on the red so long as the bracelet was brought near it. Yes, I was under the impression of that since day 1, but okay. Junpei pulled the lever down. Door 3 opened like a hungry mouth. 9 long seconds passed. And the door shut, unfed. Junpei walked slowly back to the others who were waiting some distance from the door, talking to one another. Santa and June had joined them as well.
Huh?
It looked as though they hadn't found a chance to break into the conversation yet. As Junpei approached, they turned to look at him, curiosity plain on their faces. Before long, the other 3 did as well.
What was that about?
How should I know?
Clearly, they were all expecting some answers. Understandable, fairly.
Thanks. I appreciate your cooperation.
Clearly, they'd hoped for something more forthcoming. He continued.
By the way, Ace, would you mind if I asked you something?
What is it?
Do you know who I am?
What? What kind of question?
Just answer it, please. Who am I?
You're Junpei, of course. Who else would you be?
Unfortunately, that's the wrong answer.
Huh?
Actually, I'm Santa.
What?
Ace's voice was full of surprise, as is mine. Hello, what? But it was also tinged with confusion and fear. Everyone else looked nearly as surprised. Santa looked especially shocked to discover he was actually someone else. What? If he spoke, however, the trap would be exposed. Junpei quickly continued.
The clothes I'm wearing, I borrowed from Junpei. And the clothes he's wearing are mine. We had a little swap.
That's ridiculous. Impossible.
So, you're saying I'm not Santa?
Of course you aren't.
Why? What makes you so sure I'm not Santa?
If you were Santa, then door 3 wouldn't have opened for us just now. 1 + 7 + 8 + 3 = 19. 1 + 9 would be 10. The digital route would be 1. But the 4 of us just opened door 3. You can't possibly be Santa. Your bracelet number isn't 3.
It's 5, right?
Only then, when it was too late, did Ace realize his mistake. He set his jaw and glared at Junpei.
You're exactly right. My bracelet number is 5.
As he spoke, Junpei lifted his wrist up to show everyone the bright red 5 on his wrist.
Sorry, Ace. I tricked you. Of course, I'm not really Santa. I'm Junpei. Who could possibly think I was? It's obvious I'm not. To think I was? Ridiculous. but I guess you couldn't see just how obvious it was.
Because of his condition.
I asked you before, didn't I? What makes you so sure I'm not Santa? And you answered. If you were Santa, then door 3 wouldn't have opened for us just now. Most people wouldn't say something like that.
That is true.
The first thing that would come to anyone else's mind wouldn't be the bracelet number. There'd only be one thing they'd say. One sentence. You don't have his face. Ace, you have prosopagnosia, am I right?
Junpei's voice was quiet and calm. He knew the truth, so did Ace.
Prosopagnosia.
Prosopagnosia! The others looked confused.
What's that?
No clue.
Prosopagnosia is...
He heard Lotus begin to explain it to them. Ace glanced at them, then turned back towards Junpei and sighed.
Very well. I confess. I have prosopagnosia. I cannot differentiate human faces. Is that what this was about? You want to mock me for my disorder?
That is not the goal, no.
No, not at all.
It's a lot of other things, actually.
I'm not making fun of you at all. In fact, I feel kind of bad for you. No, the reason I brought this up is that there's an excellent chance that the person who killed Snake has prosopagnosia.
Ace's face tightened. His eyes narrowed.
What do you mean?
Junpei leaned casually against the iron piping of one of the beds.
I'll just come right out with it. I think it was you, Ace. You killed him.
I mean, yeah. Junpei was suddenly very aware of 5 pairs of eyes on him. He had their undivided attention now. The room had grown very, very quiet. Junpei took a deep breath.
That's ridiculous. What possible evidence do you...
I have 3 pieces of evidence.
And that's quite a few.
The first. Think back to a few hours ago.
I just want to point this out one more time because I always love bringing it out. Once is just a chance. Twice? That's a coincidence. 3 times? You got yourself a pattern. Just saying.
You made us argue over the 3 doors here in the big hospital room. There was no way all 7 people could go through them. Lotus suggested that we sacrifice one of us.
Lotus looked away awkwardly. Junpei glanced at her and continued.
You, Ace, said, I'll stay here.
He did, and I did think that was weird at the time.
Why would you say something like that? It's pretty simple, really. You didn't want us to see the dead body in the shower room.
Oh. And if he wasn't involved in any of this, yeah, just like Santa kept saying, it was literally impossible for any of us to get in there, well, with the exception of that one time, but yeah.
You see, if Ace stayed behind, there were only 2 doors the rest of us could go through.
Uh-huh.
Doors 7 and 8. There was no way we could get through door 3, the shower room. You knew that, didn't you, Ace?
But then again, we also proved that that's not Snake. I am all kinds of curious. How is this going?
That's why you volunteered to stay behind.
Come on now. I think that's going a bit far. I can understand if you're jealous of my bravery, but please don't devalue my actions.
I'll
I only
devalue
want to
whatever
save
I want.
The rest of you. Surely you can understand my altruism.
In some instances, I dare say I could, but not in this one.
Altruism, huh?
Junpei stared off into the darkness at something very interesting and lazily began to dig a persistent bit of wax out of his ear.
You
Ew.
already knew, didn't you? You knew that whichever doors we took, eventually we'd end up back in the big hospital room.
What on earth are you saying? Of course I didn't know that. How could I have?
Really?
Yes, yes.
Pleading was not something they'd heard from Ace before. Junpei pulled the piece of wax from his ear, glanced at it, and flicked it off into the darkness. Ew.
Oh well, that's cool. I've still got 2 more pieces of evidence that say you're the killer. The second is that, as I said earlier, you have prosopagnosia.
Then you mean to imply that a person who can't distinguish human faces must be a bad person?
I find it incredibly interesting that that's your defense for this accusation. No, that is not what anyone is saying.
Junpei, they call that prejudice.
Indeed.
No, I am not that stupid.
Thank you.
Then why?
Well, before I explain, I suppose there's something I should tell you.
I'm actually Clover.
The corpse in the shower room. It's not Snake's.
What?
Ace's face went pale. The others looked confused as well. The body wasn't
I didn't
Snake's.
put it together right away, but there was something Clover told me. She said that Snake's left arm was prosthetic. He'd lost his real arm in an accident. But the body we saw in the shower room, let's call him Guy X. Guy X's left arm was definitely flesh and blood.
Who the hell's body was that?
In other words, Guy X couldn't possibly have been Snake.
Oh god. No. That's impossible.
Ace had started muttering deliriously to himself, shaking his head back and forth. Junpei was long past caring.
Let's say, hypothetically, that the killer didn't have prosopagnosia. If that were the case, he would immediately realize that Guy X wasn't Snake. Even if the clothes were the same as Snake's, their faces would be completely different. It would have been obvious they were different people. And yet, they still killed him.
Interesting, that.
Why? Why would they kill a stranger who'd only just shown up? On the other hand, if the killer did have prosopagnosia, it makes sense. They thought Guy X was Snake and killed him.
Wait. Wait just a moment.
Okay.
Let's say you're right, and I mistook Guy X for Snake.
All right.
Even if I did, I would have had no motive to kill him.
I thought you'd bring that up.
Why would I want to kill Snake?
I can think of at least two motives. One, Snake knew about your past.
Mm-hmm.
If he ever revealed what he knew, that would have been really bad for you. You really didn't want that to happen. So to make sure Snake's mouth stayed shut, you killed him. Two, Snake had a grudge against you. You knew that, or at least you could have easily assumed he did. Even without exposing your identity, he was a threat to you.
Damn.
You never knew when you might be attacked. You couldn't ever let your guard down. Every moment was a moment he might try something. You didn't want that kind of danger hanging over you. So you...
Hey, hold on a minute.
Okay, sure, what up? For the first time since the beginning of Junpei's explanation, someone besides Ace spoke.
What's the past that Ace wouldn't want us to know? Why did Snake have a grudge against him?
I have a nifty little piece of paper that tells y'all about that.
Look at this.
He handed Santa a small piece of paper. Ooh, Santa's the best person to hand that to!
What's this piece of paper?
Santa squinted at the paper and began to
The
read.
nonary game was played once before 9 years ago. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. It was planned by the following 4 people. Traitor Pharmaceuticals CEO Gentaro Hongo. What is this?
That's what I thought. Slowly, Santa looked up from the paper. His eyes met
It's
Junpei's.
the message from Zero. It was in the safe in the first class cabin.
Then suddenly,
Give me a break!
I have no Kit Kats for you! Ace's face was red and shaking, and his voice was full of fury tinged with desperation.
That paper is a lie!
Is it, though?
Someone is trying to frame me!
Me. You said me, right?
Junpei's eyes narrowed, and the trap began to close. Ace inhaled sharply, his eyes flicked off of Junpei to something, anything else.
Wouldn't that mean you're admitting you're Hongo, the CEO of Traitor Pharmaceuticals?
Oh man, this was devious.
Or am I mistaken?
It was as though a switch had been flipped. The color drained from Ace's face, and as he realized what he'd done, his eyes went wide.
Very well. I admit that much. I am certainly the CEO of Traitor Pharmaceutical, Gentaro Hongo. So what if I am? I don't know anything about this nonary game that supposedly took place 9 years ago. Everything on that scrap of paper is bullshit.
Ooh.
Someone is trying to set me up, you see? First of all,
First of all, Ace stammered as he tried desperately to work himself to a more tenable position.
Junpei, you're claiming I did this all by myself. Think that over, all right?
Okay, I shall.
How could I have killed Snake all by myself?
Not Snake. It was Guy X.
That's very important.
I don't care who it was.
Oh, I bet you didn't.
You said the killer put this other man into door 3, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah, maybe.
Then I couldn't have possibly done that alone. I couldn't have opened door 3 with only myself and Guy X.
That's true.
Nope. You could have.
I mean, okay, yes, you could. I mean, you need. You stole the bracelet. That's where I'm going with that.
Huh?
What?
Ace's face was tight and his teeth were clenched. Junpei fixed him with a level stare. The trap was about to close.
Actually, Ace, when you were unconscious, I took something from you. Remember when you were injected with that anesthetic and fell asleep in the big hospital room? Yeah, back then, I took this.
Junpei put his hand into his pocket.
No, you couldn't have.
Ace's right hand had moved. Junpei smiled.
I got you, Ace. Your right hand there tells me all I needed to know. You want to tell me what you were so worried about? What's in your pocket?
I didn't take anything.
It's the number 9 bracelet, isn't it? Ace, Guy X, and the ninth man's bracelet. That was all you needed to open door 3.
1, 2, 9, 12, 1, 2, 3.
That's how you killed Guy X all by yourself, Ace. All you needed was the number 9 bracelet in your chest pocket.
Ace lowered his hand from where it had stopped, halfway to his pocket. He looked down at the floor, his face hidden from Junpei. All I could see was the corner of Ace's mouth twitching like a dying fish.
If you want to play innocent, that's fine by me. Go ahead, tell me. I don't have the bracelet, if that's what you want to do. But if you could take off your coat and hand it to me, I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll have to take it from you by force. Right, Seven?
I feel like I've definitely said enough to at least implicate that I'm correct, and I will have people backing me up now.
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure.
All right, awesome, good. I'm really glad I have your help. I don't know if I could actually handle this. Seven cracked his knuckles with the sound of gunfire. Well, that's never good. Ace roared with laughter. He threw his arms wide and his head back and laughed, filling the room with a sound that scarcely belonged there. Then it stopped. His arms came down and his head dropped to look straight ahead at Junpei. Whoa, hello. His face was flat and cold, devoid of any emotion.
Well done, Junpei. As you so correctly deduced, I have the number 9 bracelet. I retrieved it while we were searching for the missing hardware for the Red. I left the room I was supposed to search and headed to the first-class cabin on B-deck.
His voice showed no emotion, no sense of remorse or interest. It was almost bored, as though he were reciting an especially dull corporate letter.
My purpose was to obtain the number 9 bracelet. 9 is a potent ally in the nonary game. Adding 9 to any set of numbers won't alter the digital root.
Were you the one who lied to the ninth man? He said someone had lied to him. 1, 9, 10, 1 plus 0, 1. 2, 9, 11, 1, 1, 2. 3, 9, 12, 1, 2, 3. It's true. That's a strong bracelet.
As you can see, 9 is a very useful number here. With it, one can go anywhere with anyone.
Yep.
It is, I suppose you could say, a game changer. So I made for the first-class cabin to obtain it. In mere moments, I successfully acquired the number 9 bracelet. There was also an unexpected bonus. The knife the ninth man had used.
I was wondering where a knife came
I
from.
quickly pocketed both of them and left. I made my way back to where I was expected to be. That's when I ran into Snake. Well, this guy X, actually. I spotted him ahead of me.
Who's this guy, though?
He was heading for the large hospital room and hadn't noticed me.
Is that Zero?
The man wearing Snake's clothes arrived at door 3.
Why was he wearing Snake's clothes?
When he stopped, I walked up behind him and called out, "Snake." He turned around.
Who's this?
He said nothing. His mouth simply hung half open. He seemed dazed somehow, almost like a man half asleep.
Maybe he has the anesthetic?
Perhaps he had been drugged. It wasn't important. I tend to gloss over little things like that.
Yeah, apparently.
I was certain that man was Snake. I knew Snake had taken part in the nonary game 9 years ago. Being blind, it made sense that he didn't recognize me immediately upon our first meeting. But why then hadn't Snake said anything to me later? Surely he hadn't forgotten what had happened to him in the nonary game. But not once did he attempt to confront me. Did his lack of sight prevent him from fully recognizing who I was? Or perhaps Snake had conspired with Zero to deceive me. Regardless, he was a threat, and it was better to deal with him sooner rather than later. I had to get rid of him before he took action. With quick thinking, my plan went into motion immediately. I held the number 9 bracelet over the Red. I waved my own bracelet in front of the Red, and then grabbed Snake's arm and shoved his hand against the scanner panel.
But this is so weird. Why is there a drugged stranger wearing Snake's clothes and having how does he have his bracelet?
The door opened.
I'm so confused.
I threw the man through it. 9 seconds later, the door shut. 81 seconds passed.
The man inside the door passed away.
After that, I returned to my post as though nothing had happened. After conducting my own search, I returned to the large hospital room when the 1 a.m. bell rang.
Ace's eyes were cold and his cheeks were hollow and pallid. When he spoke, only his lips and tongue moved. The rest of his face was eerily still. Junpei glared at Ace. He took a deep breath and thought about the next question he had to ask. He didn't want to. He knew what the answer would be. He just didn't want to hear it. Junpei swallowed, then spoke.
Ace, did you kill Clover?
Yes.
Why? Why did you kill her?
She was Snake's sister. It was possible he had told her something dangerous. Additionally, she had gone through door 1. It seemed likely she might have found it.
Found what?
Why don't you go through door 1 yourself? Perhaps it's hidden somewhere.
Seven and Lotus interrupted.
Yeah, but Lotus and I went through door 1 too.
We didn't see anything suspicious.
Yes. I thought as much after I heard your report at the central stairs. I doubt the two of you could find it.
Hmm?
Huh?
But perhaps Clover was different. Perhaps she had found it. I was, therefore, desperate to find her. And at last I did, in the first-class cabin. I spoke very calmly. Did you see it?
See what?
Don't act as if you don't understand. You were in the captain's quarters, weren't you?
Uh-huh. What are you talking about?
Very well. By the way, what are you doing here, Clover?
What? Nothing.
There's blood on your shoes. It looks fresh. Did you go take a look at the 9th man's corpse? I see. Your silence suggests that you noticed. You saw something, didn't you? You saw that his bracelet was gone.
No!
Clover ran. She made for the exit, but Ace stood in her way.
You aren't going anywhere.
He caught her by the collar as she passed and threw her to the floor hard. Oh god, I don't like this.
You're staying here.
No!
She leapt back up and darted past him into the hallway. Ace followed at a run.
Don't you run, little girl.
He went faster. Or was faster. Oh.
That was how I killed Clover.
His face hadn't changed. If he felt guilt or remorse or anything one might feel after taking the life of another human being, it didn't show.
You son of a bitch!
Seven's whole body trembled with rage and his voice rumbled with hate. Santa's eyes were bloodthirsty, and Lotus and June's faces were distorted by anger and hatred. Ace looked at them and smiled. It was a cold, cruel thing with no humor in it. He shook his head and sighed.
I admit it. I've lost. I have lost. Completely and utterly. Don't misunderstand, Junpei. I didn't lose to you.
Sure seems like you did.
I lost to Zero. Not you.
Alright, fine. Whatever helps you sleep at night, sicko.
I'm rather disgusted with myself for falling into such a simple trap.
Yeah, well, you did.
I looked the fool. And it was a trap. Make no mistake. I was trapped and manipulated by Zero. The man I killed in the shower room, if he wasn't Snake, then I have no idea who he was. But he was wearing Snake's clothes, and that was no coincidence. He had also been injected with something that reduced his cognition and prevented him from identifying himself or resisting me. And we can't forget the components that were removed from the red before we arrived. I have no doubt that Zero planned all of this.
Pretty forward thinking, like goddamn, that was clever as hell.
Zero made sure I would kill that man. It follows, of course, that Zero knew everything I would do.
But why? I guess, my best guess is that this is all some... that Zero is either someone related to or even is somebody from the original Nonary game. And this is all a big revenge thing. That'd make sense, right?
That I would try to take the number 9 bracelet. That I would try to kill Snake. Everything.
Suddenly, Junpei remembered the paper he'd found in the safe. He remembered the last words Zero had written on it. I must punish them for the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls might be saved, I now state the truth. Zero. And he remembered other words. Words he'd heard from Clover.
I think Zero is one of us.
Lotus? I mean, she's the only one I can think of that would be connected to the past one. We don't know that... We don't know about her kid being in the Nonary game here, but I do. So then, maybe she knew more than she let on? And this was all her setup? One by one, Junpei looked at the 5 people standing in front of him. Ace, Santa, June, 7, Lotus.
Zero is one of us? No. Wait. There's one more person. Snake. The man who died in the shower room isn't Snake.
Then I guess it could have been him. He was in the... Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah.
That means he's almost certainly still alive. Maybe Snake is Zero.
But where is he?
Maybe he made Guy X wear his clothes so that we'd all think he was dead. Where's Snake now? What if he's off somewhere laughing at us? If he is Zero, he must have been lying to us about everything else.
But then that would mean that Clover was in on everything too. I mean, I guess it's possible.
Is he watching us?
Oh my goodness.
I believe I've finished with my confession. Why don't we get moving?
Have I made it to the next section yet? Oh, wow. Oh yeah, no, I have. I have actually. Okay. He sounded as if he'd just finished doing nothing more exciting than describing the weather. For Santa, it was the last straw.
What the hell is this shit? You aren't going anywhere, you son of a bitch! We're gonna leave your ass here to rot!
Gonna have to agree with that one.
Why? Because I killed Clover?
For a lot of reasons.
That's ridiculous. Why are you so upset that I killed the little bitch?
Okay, hey-ho.
She was nothing to you. A stranger you only met a few hours ago. Am I wrong?
And that suddenly makes murder okay? No.
You bastard!
7 roared and lifted a fist that would likely have shattered Ace's jaw. But someone else was faster. It was Lotus. She stepped towards Ace, raised a fist of her own, and drove it straight into his nose.
Blindsiding me with a punch, huh? You've got some fire, don't you?
He didn't even flinch. What the hell?
I confess, I rather like a tough woman.
Yeah, okay, you don't need to make this even creepier. He sniffed and wiped a small trickle of blood from his nose with a raised eyebrow.
Well, maybe you'd like another one then.
Before that, let me give you one of my own.
Huh?
Lotus scarcely had time to blink. Ace snaked his arms around her and pulled Lotus back up against him. In the same motion, he reached into his coat pocket. Oh, dear God! God damn it, I knew that thing was gonna come into play at some point! It was a gun. The revolver. Almost lazily, he tilted it to point at Lotus's head.
If any of you so much as blink, I won't hesitate to pull this trigger. I've already killed 3 people. Don't think I'm not ready to make it 4.
3 people? What do you mean?
Is the reason the 9th man... Okay, yep.
Very well. Let me take this opportunity to illuminate you.
Freaking know it.
The person who killed the 9th man was me. Although I suppose to be more accurate, I encouraged him to get himself killed.
Still counts.
While we were examining the main staircase, he came to me and told me his name. I recognized it at once, so I gave him a little push. Just a little white lie. It seems the settings for the dead were altered. Now it only requires a single person to deactivate the detonator in the bracelet. Investigate what's beyond door 5. We'll meet again later. And with that...
Okay. Have a good one, guys. I'm going off ahead now. Well then. Why is it stopping? God damn it!
You really just took all that at face value, huh?
You lied!
Why didn't you say the name?
Open the door, please! I'm begging you!
Man, that would have saved us a lot of trouble.
Help me! Please get me out of here! Get me out of here! Oh my god, there's no time left! Listen, I was lied to! He lied to me! He put me in here! It was him! He killed me! It was him! Ah!
I had 4 reasons for killing him. As I said before, in the nonary game, the number 9 bracelet is of utmost importance. If I had allowed him to keep such a useful tool, he, or it, would have become a threat to me. As such, I decided that he should be eliminated early on. I wanted the number 9 bracelet. If I could manage to obtain it, I would be able to manipulate the game as I saw fit. I would be unable to acquire the bracelet unless its owner was dead. That's the second reason. Even setting aside his number, he would have been nothing but trouble for me. He was aware of my past. He knew what happened here 9 years ago. It was important that I eliminate him before he was able to disseminate this information.
I'm just taking this all in.
Lastly, I wished to conduct a simple test. A test to see if this nonary game was serious, or a poor attempt at a joke. I needed to be quite sure. As such, I encouraged him to act against the rules so that I might observe the outcome.
Diabolical.
I don't get your third motive. What the hell happened 9 years ago?
Didn't I say? The nonary game was played.
Yeah, you want to elaborate on why?
I planned it out, and I conducted its execution.
Why?
Why? What on earth was it supposed to do?
I don't really think I have any obligation to tell you that.
Of course. Ace smirked. He was trying to provoke them, and it was working. Although Ace had paid very little attention to Lotus after catching her, the gun had never wavered from her temple. She looked quite pale, and when she spoke, her voice shook.
Hey, what's with this gun? Where did he get this?
Why don't you tell her, Santa?
Santa ground his teeth and glared at
The
Ace.
other side of door 6, we found the gun in the coffin in the cargo room, right? Bastard must have grabbed it when we weren't looking.
Indeed I did. That was a pretty serious mistake, you know.
Just say the bare minimum.
Just saying you intended to leave it behind.
Ace laughed a short, derisive snort and gave Junpei a sickeningly pitying look.
Well, there isn't much time left. I'll be off then.
Well, where are you going?
Do I really need to explain? I had assumed it would be obvious. I have the number 9 bracelet, and now I have Lotus.
9, 8, 1, 18. He's got 9.
Wasn't there a door with a 9 on it in the room that looked like a church? That's where you're going, isn't it?
And how do you know that?
Santa told me about it while we were looking for Clover.
I see. Well, you are correct. That is my destination. But now I must say goodbye to all of you. Ah, and please, don't forget my warning. Move and I'll pull the trigger. I don't need her alive to open the door, you know.
As he spoke, Ace began backing toward the door, practically dragging Lotus behind him.
Shit! He's getting away! But we can't risk it.
Junpei, Santa, June, and Seven stood frozen. Ace had the face of a man gone mad. They had no doubt he would pull the trigger. Ace had reached the exit.
Now, Lotus, open the door for me if you would.
He forced Lotus to open it, then turned and addressed them once more.
Goodbye.
Then he stepped through the door. It fell shut. In the blink of an eye, they were gone.
Damn it!
As soon as Ace and Lotus were gone, Junpei and the others leapt for the door in pursuit of Ace. But as Junpei laid his hand on the doorknob, there was a noise behind him. He looked over his shoulder. June was kneeling on the floor, breathing heavily.
Hey, June, what happened? Are you all right?
Santa ran to June and wrapped her arm around her before she could collapse all the way.
Jesus, you're burning up. Your fever's back. Are you okay?
June's fever had returned, again for no apparent reason. Her eyes were watering and her eyelids drooped. Her breath came in dry, shallow gasps.
Okay. Really, I'm fine. You should be worrying about Lotus.
She was breathing hard now, and she could barely summon the strength to talk.
But
Junpei was torn. He couldn't leave June alone in the state she was in. But every moment they waited, Ace was farther away, Lotus's life in his hands. What was Junpei supposed to do? June's eyes drifted to Junpei as she managed to muster a weak smile.
Jumpy, don't worry about me. I just need a little rest. I'll be fine. Don't you remember? I just needed to rest a little bit last time. So please, please save Lotus.
Think about what Ace has already done, Junpei. When he's got what he needs from Lotus, you really think he's just gonna let her walk away?
I did not think that for even half of a second.
Damn it. You guys go on ahead. As soon as June starts feeling better, we'll follow you. Go!
Junpei looked at June. She nodded once. She couldn't manage much more. But it was all the confirmation Junpei needed. His resolve was set.
all right, come on, Seven. We're going after Ace.
Hell yeah!
Santa, you take good care of June. I'm trusting you.
Got it.
Santa nodded. Junpei turned before he had a chance to change his mind and started running toward the door. He could hear Seven's heavy footsteps behind
Let's
him.
go.
Junpei and Seven exploded into the hallway, their feet pounding the metal floor as they ran.